In this lesson, we're going to make a complicated normal map with multiple inputs, and we're going to talk about how to blend those together efficiently and get them to go right into our normal map node plug. We're also going to look a little bit at tessellation, and later on we'll look at subsurface material properties and to make a complicated subsurface material. Let's get started. First up, we want to take a look at our material itself. So we have it set to surface and opaque. I have subsurface set on and also two-sided to make sure that's turned on. Because, you know, if I put it on a thin object, I want to be able to actually show it on both sides and render correctly in real time. We have tangent space set in. That'll work just great. Scroll down just a little bit here. We have use with skeletal mesh. Yes. We want to use with static lighting, and we also want to use it with morph targets. Later on, we'll look at the morph target node built into the material editor and some of the properties and things to look out for. Now, we also have tessellation. I want to make sure I turn that on. I'm going to turn it on to PN triangles. Now, if you want to, you can do flat tessellation. It's very simple, not too complicated, or even no tessellation. But I'm going to turn on PN triangles here. I'm going to turn on enable adaptive tessellation. This actually works really nice. Evens out the tessellation so it isn't too crowded necessarily in one area with too much triangulation and so forth. And I think that's about it for this guy. All right. You can also preview your material if you need to. This isn't always update like I'd like it to, but you're more than welcome to play with that. So let's go into our view here, our scene. And what we're going to do now is going to create some constants. We need 3 of them to work as a clamp. So these guys working as a clamp are actually going to allow us to work with switches. So constants can activate as switches, and you should be familiar with them if you've messed with the material editor before. I'm going to pull all 3 of them in. And we're going to plug each one into a different slot, one being specular, one being the rough, and one being opacity. We don't really need to mess with emissive. That's only if we want it to glow. In this case, we really don't need it to. So let's go and plug in the first one into specular. I'm going to set his point to 0.5. That's kind of what we need. You'll see your compiling shader pop up in Unreal 4. So if you want to prevent it continually updating, what you can do is just click on these guys ahead of time and punch in your numbers now. 0.2. It will sometimes take the liberty to do that. Not all the time, but it will for the most part. And do 2 here. And we'll plug into rough. And then the last one we'll plug into our opacity here. There we go. Should work just great. And those are our absolute numbers. It's compiling in the background. One thing I want you to be careful with when you are compiling, you need to make sure that Unreal does its job. If you delete a material, if you decide that you want to close out of your thing, you got to be careful. You got to make sure that compiling's finished. It has to finish its run. You can actually mess up your material. One time I deleted a texture in the middle of it compiling and I lost it and it wasn't quite updating anymore and I had to close out. So you got to be careful of that. So we got those in there. So now what we need to do, we need to make 2 multiplies and 2 adds. So let's go and do that real quick. We're going to do add here and I'll just pull him in and we'll do Control C, Control V to pull him up. And then we need 2 multiplies. Let's put some multiplies in here. So we'll do multiply. And we'll pull them in. And Control C, Control V. And get that guy going. Pull him down here. Get this add set in place. And we're going to put a multiply, put him here. And then this add, we're going to pull him a little farther out. And then this multiply, we'll put him right about here, even with these guys. All right, so the materials the textures you want to use, I'm going to make this point here. Make sure that you grab for the first one is monolith. Now he's mainly used for the big pieces of ice, but he can also apply to the more melting ones or smaller ones, and that works just fine. All right, and then the next one we have here, double click on him. This is ice normal. Make sure you grab this guy. He's actually a little bit more detailed. I like him a lot. And then the other one we have, we double click on him, is ice tile normal. So this guy's a little bit more tileable, and you can play with them a bit here. Now that we have these nodes in here, they're going to actually act as bridges, and they're going to allow us to actually connect these nodes together and build out our nice tree to make these normals a lot more complicated. But we're also going to need to be able to control how much of a blending is going on, and we can do that through a constant here, and this is called our constant 3 vector. I'm going to pull them in. We want 2 of them, so I'm going to do Control C, Control V, Pull him in there and pull this guy up. I'm going to squeeze him right between this guy just to keep things a little bit more organized, and we'll put it here. Later on, we can add some comments as well as notes. All right, so now that we have this set up, we're going to have to do some connecting here. We're going to grab the raw color here information and bring it into the ad. Again, the ad is acting as our bridge. And then from there, we're going to actually move this multiply back just to make things a little bit more organized. Let me move him here. And we're going to pump in his color into this guy's top value, so the A slot right there. And I'm going to finish it off by grabbing his all-around output into the B slot of the ad, which is above. All right, hopefully following along. Next, we're going to go into our constant vectors. Now, these guys need some variables. So I'm going to set the variables to 0.5, and we'll do 0.5, the red, green, and blue. And this red, green, and blue allows you to control exactly how much is going to pull through color-wise. And we're trying to give a nice even distribution. So we're keeping it a little bit in the gray tone. So we're going to grab this guy here, and we're going to put him right at the B of our first multiply slot. Next, we're going to go to our other vector 3 here, constant 3 vector, and we're going to actually add in 0.5 again. Oh, we don't want 2 zeros, we want 1, 0.5, and then we'll do another 0.5 and enter that in. Fantastic. So now that we got that guy set up and ready to go, we're going to shuffle these guys a little bit more because I don't want to get too crowded. And we're going to go in here and plug into that multiply, the first slot, our UV here, our color for our information on this normal map. And then on the bottom, we're going to pull in our vector and bring him into the B. Somebody following along so far, hopefully? Cool. So now that we got that set up, we need to do the final touch here to plug this into our normal map. And what we're going to do is going to pull this guy in, plug him into the A channel of our last ad, and then the multiply we're going to plug into here. Now the reason why this guy and this guy are a little bit more are over here off on their own is we're just blending. Remember, we're just using this vector constant to blend in and control our color distribution. But this guy's our main one. He's our main normal map. And we just want all these guys to blend well. So that's where these adds and multiplies come in. They actually allow these guys to play nice and to filter through and get even distribution. And we can use them and control their strength down here for the two guys that are the last people coming in. He's the first one on the block. So he's the home team, I guess you could say. So now we're going to go and grab the last of that and plug it into our normal map right there. There we go. So now we have our normal map set in. We're going to let the compiling happen. And you're going to see some really nice distribution on here. As we move around, you can see that looks really, really clean, looks really good. You can see the little specular coming through based on our plugin values here. And we should be good to go from there. So the next part of this system here that we're setting up, we're going to go into our subsurface nodes, and I'll show you how to set these up and to get some really nice effects for the light passing through the ice.